Welcome back to the Grow Like a Mother podcast. I am your host, Jill, and this is a show where we talk about all things personal growth. Please ignore the barking dog in the background if you can hear her. I am here, of course, each and every week with you, sharing amazing experts that I've found who can guide us and teach us in all kinds of different lanes. And today, Natalie's with us. She is a fellow Canadian. Natalie's a passionate educator, and she's really dedicated to transforming lives one family at a time. She spent 30 years teaching, and so she combines that vast knowledge with her personal journey into a really powerful narrative. Because as a single parent for 15 years, Natalie navigated life also as an orphan for over 25 years, and she really brings unique insights and resilience to her mission because of those experiences. She is an author as well. Her book, Sink or Swim Parenting, is a testament to her journey from surviving to thriving, which I think is what we're all after. So today we're going to be talking specifically about co-parenting. Natalie's going to offer us some valuable advice for parenting kids of all ages, from toddlers to teens, and then weaving in the co-parenting journey into that as well. So welcome to the show, Natalie, after
Thank
all of
you,
that.
Jill. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm happy to
Yeah.
be here. I really feel like it's my mission to help people that are struggling because I know, parenting's the hardest job in the world. And when you have to do it alone, that adds an extra layer to it, right? So,
It does. And I think I've never met a parent who isn't struggling and feeling overwhelmed,
yeah.
right? I'm the same as you. Listeners will know if they've been longtime listeners, but I'll share with you a bit of my backstory because I think we have a lot in common. I also was, well, maybe not that much in common, but we certainly have one piece in common that I think is really important. And that's the single parenting aspect. Um, my kids are still small, but I call it solo parented because I had a partner for the
Hmm.
first 4 years who wasn't super present. And so I did all that alone. And then I was a true single parent
Hmm.
for 2 years or so. And now I'm in a new relationship. And we've got like a whole bunch of kids in the mix, and there's a lot of co-parenting happening. Um, but that's sort of my background. So I'm really interested to dive into this with you and get your advice because you are the expert.
Well, every situation is different, but I do have some insights I think that can help people.
Yeah. So, I mean, bring me back. Tell me how this all got started for you. What was it like, um, when you were sort of in that surviving phase, and then how did you get into this thriving stage of your life?
So surviving, my ex and I split when my children were very young. My daughter was 18 months, my son was 3. And in order to have some support of any kind, because my parents weren't around, I had to move to my hometown, my little small town with my bestie girlfriends, ride or die girls that were there, right? Have that quality of living that was affordable in a small town. And it was a perfect move for me to have just gather that's whatever support I could, right? But it was still surviving. It was, I was the only one doing daycare. I was substitute teaching. I was trying to teach dance on the side, trying to manage, all of it. And it really started when I sat down and I started studying brain development, watching my kids, like how are they learning all these things? So then I got super interested in, how all of this works. At the same time, I really took a dive inward, self-care. Doing dishes was my meditation,
Mm.
right? No dishwasher, 2 toddlers, they're eating 5 times a day, you know? So that was at the end of the night was mindset shifts. So when they got to school, I had no childcare for after school for when I was substitute teaching. So that grew into me creating an after school program in my children's elementary school. So that was a wonderful way to begin the thriving, to realize, okay, I get to be with my children every day. I get to provide this service for the families in the community, and have that autonomy to step. I was still kind of teaching, as a beginning business owner. When you've been a teacher for many years, that security, right? You're like, oh, can I leave teaching? I have to, is this business going to, survive type of thing. But eventually that business did grow to over 75 families, and it's still running today with many on the waiting list. My director and my staff are the most amazing people in the world. So that was, solving my own problem really helped me get to that thriving point. But I think for all of us, Jill, it's sometimes you're thriving and things are going really well, and then you have a dip, right? It's never been this, I've been thriving since then, right? I mean, you have those times that are good and those times that are difficult, but I really comes back to taking care of my needs first, as well as my children's, of course. And that really uh, helped me keep going, when things got tough, when the schedules weren't possible. We talk about self-care, about bubble baths, but it's so much more than that. I mean, I had to set boundaries. I had to ask for help. I mean, my daughter's in dance, my son is in soccer. I had to reach out to other people to help, get the transportation and different things like that. So, that I think made probably the biggest difference is being able to do that.
Yeah. And I heard you mention or refer to like self-care in a bunch of different ways. And I love how you brought it together at the end there. Like self-care is the the mindset shifts. It is the setting boundaries. It is the asking for help. It is also bubble bath some days, but like
Absolutely.
we are hearing this term self-care so often. Like I think it's just in our face. It's losing its
It's oomph.
oomph, you
Yeah,
know?
I agree. I think it needs a new name.
Yes.
Right? Because it also comes into those mindset shifts. What's your negative self-talk? Reach out to your support systems. It's all of that as
Hmm.
well. Regulate your nervous system. Like there's so much more to it than self-care. So yeah, I think let's coin a new name for it. Ask your listeners.
Yeah, exactly. If anyone's got any insights, tag me and Natalie on Instagram and give us some ideas because this is I mean it's a hill I'll die on in terms of telling moms and showing them how important it is to take care of themselves. But we need to come at it from different ways for it to really click because we're really bad as moms at taking
Huge
care of
bad.
ourselves and prioritizing ourselves, right?
Absolutely. But I think if moms realize how, just picture this, you're taking good care of yourself. You're doing the things that make you happy, whether that be going to yoga class, whether that be whatever it is.
Right.
Your children are watching you. And so isn't that what we want for all of our children, is to value themselves? Because truly self-care is when you're showing that think you're worthy of that care. So we want our children to feel worthy of taking care of themselves as well, and we get them there by modeling for them, this is what it looks like, so
Hmm.
you can do this too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Definitely. I love modeling. It's a tool I learned by necessity with a neurodivergent kiddo, and I just use it now for all the kids, and it's so helpful.
Oh
Like
yeah.
when I say all the kids, I'm bringing in my older two step kids into this conversation. I've got a 14-year-old, an 11-year-old, and then 7 and 5, and the younger two I raised from the babies. I birthed them.
Hmm.
But it's hard. I'm finding it really challenging right now to navigate not only like dealing with the teenage brain, which I have no information about whatsoever. So I'm like, okay, I need to level up my knowledge here of their
Hmm.
brain and like what the world is now compared to when I was a teenager,
Absolutely.
but also navigating like decision making with my new spouse, with his ex, and with my ex, and like there's so many pieces to the puzzle. Do you? I was going to say, do you have any advice for that? But that's such a loaded question. Can you talk to us a little
I
bit
can.
about the challenges that you see in like similar situations? Like, is this common? What are you seeing?
Every situation is completely unique, unfortunately, or fortunately. But I mean, there's a few pillars that are super important. And, I guess I'll touch on the teenager thing because that it is a difficult time and you're just at the precipice, Jill. But don't feel bad, because guess what? I didn't know much about the teenage years till I raised mine. Like, we grow with our children, right? So, we can't be feeling guilty about that. We are learning as you go.
Yeah.
And it has to come with knowing that individual child and what's important to them, kind of their personality. Are they a sensitive one, or are they, what what makes them tick? And that really takes some time to spend with each child on their own, get their ideas, open that world of communication, and then the communication then because of their ages, you can communicate to them about what they need, what they see everybody's role is in this multidimensional situation, right? I
Mhm.
mean, typically in these situations, if there's no, anger and angst, everybody wants the same thing. They want the kids to be happy and well adjusted, right? I mean, and creative and doing all of the things. So, once the talking to the older ones and getting to find out where they're at, it's kind of managing the conversation and communication between everybody that's involved in that situation. And so, what's the best way to do that? It depends on the personalities. I would really sit down and think about, what are the things that you value in your family, and look at the values of the other family, find those commonalities, right? Because what you focus on grows.
Mm.
So instead of focusing on, well, they do it this way, we do it this way, right?
Yep.
Focus on those where's the life in this, where's the energy in the situation? What are the things that can be easily agreed upon, and build on those with, obviously, with the older kids' input, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they want that bit of autonomy and some decision making and their input, but also based on their personalities, what lights them up, what's important for the development, you know, those kinds of things.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it's got my wheels turning already in terms of different ideas that I can implement. I'm curious to know in terms of when you teach people and talk to people about co-parenting, is it coming from an angle of being able to keep not consistency between households with kids, but like um keep them happy in the transition? Or is it more like how we connect with the other parenting units? And or is it both? Like what is co-parenting really? And what are the challenges that can come up, or the beautiful things even that we get to experience with this?
Yeah, so there's an awful lot of challenges. And again, every situation's unique. So I'm going to just, kind of talk globally. But I mean, those challenges are, everybody wants the kids to be happy. it's it's best for the children to be able to see the co-parents be able to be civil with each other, have a conversation, but I understand that's not always possible, right? So, I've coached some parents that if that's not possible, then what are the ways that we can share important information about the child? I mean, a lot of people say, oh, well, we have a parenting plan about, here's when the visits are. It's all about the visits and the dates. It's so much more than that. For young children, it's important for both parents to know what settles them at bedtime. What do I do when they are acting out and having a temper tantrum? What is their favorite toy? What are the new skills that they're learning? When they're school age, there's other things. What's happening at school? Who are their best friends? Sometimes I think that information gets lost in the shuffle, and that is the most important information. So I never coach parents to say, you have to do it the same at each house, but it's really important for each house to know how the other house is doing it, so that when challenges come up with the children at your house, you might be like, so I've created a co-parent journals that have those types of things in them. And, so if you get the journal and you're like, oh, that's why my kid's flipping out right now, because they do it completely different at the other house. I didn't know. Right? Like
Yes.
and so it's really important for both families also to have the maturity, the emotional maturity to understand the purpose of that journal. Because that's something, when I created this journal again out of necessity when my children were very young and they'd go on visits with their dad. And, unfortunately, his view of the journal was me telling him how to parent.
Ugh.
And I'm like, no, dude, I just want you to get to know your kids. You only see them every 3 to 4 months. So they change a lot in that time. So here's everything. I was just verbal diarrhea, like 7 pages of written notes, all about their schedule, what the food they liked, like everything, because I just felt that was a gift to him to know. I didn't tell him you could do whatever you want, but if they get upset, this might give you some insight into why,
Right.
right? Because it's important for everybody to know the child, right? It is all about the child.
Yeah, as it should be. And you're right, they change so much, even week to week with my kids back and
Oh
forth.
yeah.
Like it can change a ton. And I might get a kid who's had a bad week. And if I didn't know about something that happened either at school or friends, like, or at the house, I'm not going to know why they're acting shitty. Like, I'm not
Yeah,
going to know why they're yelling or having a bad attitude, and vice versa, right?
exactly. Exactly. So it all benefits them in their development, just
Yeah.
knowing that information. But, the co-parents have to just release any of their past issues with the other parent, right? And focus solely on the well-being of the child, the optimum well-being in all areas, right?
And so, talk to me about what it looks like when you're coaching people. Do you get often to coach both parents, or are you like one side, like one parent's interested in learning and getting these tools, and the other's not on board? What does a coaching experience look
So
like?
it differs, but funny, I ideally like to work with both parents, but not together in the same meeting.
Right.
So what I like to do is we start our 10-week program, but they both start in the same week, right? And we kind of go through together, but separately. That I find is the absolute most beneficial. But I've seen it happen where it was kind of court suggested, not court ordered. So one of the parents was like, no, I don't think, but he showed up. And by the end of the 10 weeks, I got the most glowing review from this guy. I was like, wow, right? Because he realized that, and you know yourself, Jill, with the coaching, when people hear parent and then coach, sometimes people think we're going to tell them what to do,
Yeah.
right? And that's so not how this process works, right? It's
Mhm.
you know how it works. We work with their values and their strengths, and we use positive psychology, and we co-create the solutions together, right?
Yeah.
So it's way more effective if I can get both parents, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I can work with one parent, but if they're just continuously hitting walls and I don't know the personality of the other parent, right? I'm just hearing from this parent, well, things are skewed, right? I can't believe everything, like, because
Yeah.
that's their perception. So it's really for me to coach and get for the parent to get the most benefit speaking with the other parent so I can get their side of it, right? Because I'm the neutral, non-judgment person in the middle here that's all about the child and what is best for the child, right?
Right. Yeah. And do you find that people will come to you with like a specific issue? Or is it just generally like either we're new in this situation or we're really bad at this co-parenting thing and we need some help? Like, is it an overarching, like, please guide us? Or do people come and get help from you on a particular issue?
Most of the time it's the communication piece.
Yeah.
It's how the communication is happening. Sometimes there's no communication or there's just angst in the communication, right? So that's the usually the biggest issue that I've been finding so far. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. It's such
It's
an interesting area to work in.
yeah.
Um, and I bet so rewarding as
It
well.
is. Yeah, it is. When you see the light bulbs go on, right? And
Yeah.
the parents are like, and then they start using the journal and they're getting their information back and forth and they're feeling so much, more confident. I mean, not all the time are they hanging out having coffee,
Yeah.
But, I mean, I even go as deep as and I help them craft emails to each other, right? Like, okay, you do a draft of this email. I really put in what you want the other to know about where you are now. And then we sit down and we work through the draft together about, picking the wording and not putting too much emotion in there and pointing out the positive things about the parent and how much they love the child. And then they exchange emails, right? So yeah, it's a lot of work on communication for sure.
It's so much support between like the copywriting, right, of the
Yeah.
emails and that journal. Like, what are some other tools that you find really helpful for encouraging communication? Or is that sort of the crux of it, is just like practicing and being open?
So something else that's really I find really important is I do a parent style survey or inventory with
Okay.
the parents. So it's probably something different. It's not gentle parenting. It's not all of those things. Helicopter. No, 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 no. So I got my coaching certificates through the Parent Coaching Institute in the United States, and Gloria Di Catano is a brilliant parent coach and educator, and so she created a tool, her parent style inventory. It basically has 4 different parenting styles, and of course, we're all different parenting styles at different times of the day, but these are based on personality traits, basically. So you're the care and nurture parent, you're the practicality and results parent, you're the kind of the intuitive parent, and you're the realistic parent, right? So when I go through that exercise with the parents separately, they see the benefits of that, each of those styles, and even parents in the same household, let's face it, Jill, got different parenting styles typically. But when they are able to see the strengths of each of the other person's style, and then they look and they read about the challenges of that person's style,
Right.
right? So then they're able to look at that other parent and go, oh, I'm care and nurture. He's practicality and results. That's why he's not getting what I'm saying right now.
I
Right.
love
So that piece of understanding,
Yeah,
does it make everything perfect? No. But when you're able to see someone else and understand someone else and how their brain's kind of looking at a situation, you can then tailor your communication to help them understand your point of view and vice versa. Right.
absolutely. I love having a typing system like that where you can sort of be reflected back the pros and cons of your own style and feel really seen, but also called out a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
There's
but to have the information about the other person as well, that's what I do with my time management. I have a quiz to determine, and it's really fun because people get to understand themselves at a level, get tools that are going to work for them, but also understand the other people in their lives. And I think that
yes.
there is so much value in that and having that same common language to be able to, especially I can imagine with parenting where it can be sort of heightened emotions at times, to be able to just say, like, I see this piece is acting like this intuitive piece is coming into play here, right? Or
Yes.
this practical piece. Um, that's super cool. Is that something that people get in session with you, or is it like something that they can take online separately to get
It's
started?
something they get on in session with me.
Cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
I'm not really allowed to put it out there in the world. It's
Yeah,
from Parent Coaching Institute,
fair.
Gloria's work, but it's amazing, amazing tool.
I bet. And I'm curious too now, as I think about this, because you had mentioned within the same household, parents can have different styles, and that's very much the case in my household now.
Mm,
My boyfriend is older by 8 years, and so he's very much like Gen X, a little bit old school, like, and I'm into the conscious parenting. I'm a millennial, like we just
yeah.
have different, and so our kids grew up differently. And so I wonder, do you work with people like me who are in a situation where we're co-parenting at this in the same household?
Of course, of course.
That's
I
cool.
mean, the co-parenting is my niche, but I typically will be coaching about anything. But I
Yeah,
do coach couples,
yeah.
right? Single parents, but married. I mean,
We all need help.
co-parenting co-parenting came up because I've done it for 15 years, right?
Yes.
So when they say when you're starting a little business, right? What's your niche? Well,
Yep.
might as well pick one that I'm most familiar with, but my children are now 18 and 20. So I've gone through all the other stages as well, from toddlers to teens, right?
Oh my
So
gosh. It's a
yeah,
lot.
yeah,
As we wrap up, what is one thing that you'd love to share with the moms who are maybe on this journey, whatever journey they're on, whether it's co-parenting or not? What's one piece of advice, information, just something that you want to share with them?
for sure. I think one of the biggest things us moms are riddled with is guilt. And I really would like moms to take that out of the vocabulary and be very gentle with yourself in your self-talk and take care of yourself in all the ways, because that's how you're mainly going to benefit your children. So even if, you find it hard, well, I don't have time to do this, but you do anything for your kids, right? Most moms just, I'll crawl over broken glass for my kids. Well, that piece benefits your kids probably more than anything else. You taking care of yourself, dropping the guilt. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. And we're never, ever going to be perfect, because every child is unique. Every parent is unique. And so there's no cookie cutter approach for
Mm,
this. It comes down to your heart, your intuition, and letting go of that guilt. Who does that serve? Nobody. And it's not helping your kids. you know,
yeah.
Everybody wants the best for their kids. So drop it, let it
Right.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way we're going to help the kids the most is by bringing ourselves back into our own priority list.
Yeah. It's
Man,
true.
that's great. Thank you so much for your time and wisdom. If people are interested to hire you as a coach and get this assessment done so they can really see their style and just follow you for more information, how can they reach out?
Sure. So they can find me on my website, nataliemccabe.com. And if they want to reach out to book a free call for any little issue, they'll get some value if they book a free call on my website. They can email me, natalie@nataliemccabe.com. I'm on Instagram, kind of a newbie, after teaching for 30 years, they told us not to use social media. So I'm working on it. Natalie McCabe Official on Instagram. And I have a Facebook page as well, Natalie McCabe Parent Coach. So
Amazing. You're
that's where they
everywhere.
can. I'm everywhere.
We
Well,
search for you.
not TikTok. I'm kind of. I am the Gen Xer.
We
That
have
is
to draw the
kind of.
line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. I don't like TikTok either. I'm like, I wish I was a Gen Xer. I'm like the elder millennial, but I'm like TikTok, socials, like, I'm there with
I
you. But
know.
I love that you're everywhere. You're accessible. You're available. You're so insightful. It's been a real gift to get to chat with you today. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Jill. I appreciate all the work you're doing as well.
Yeah,
It's
thank
awesome.
you. And if you're listening to this episode and you loved it, take a screenshot, tag Natalie and I, send her a message, let her know that you heard about her on the show. And until next week, keep on growing like a mother.